All right, so now we're going to work on estimating cubic roots. So we're going to do the same process that we did for square roots. The only difference is that there's a different set of numbers. Instead of perfect squares, we're doing perfect cubes. So the cube root of 1 is 1. Cube root of 8 is 2. Cube root of 27 is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we're not going to get much higher than 8 just because that number is pretty big. And what the cubic root means is like, let's look at the square cubic root of 8. That means 2 times 2 times 2, right? So that means 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8. So that's how we get the cubic root, figuring out what times itself 3 times gives you that number. So we're going to do the steps here. They're pretty similar to the ones before. So I might type these just to make it a little easier on yourself, okay? All right, so the first step is to determine what perfect cubes and integers the number falls between. So same step as before, what instead of perfect squares, we're doing perfect cubes. And then from there, determine what integer it is closer to. Man, I am doing all sorts of typers, sorry. What integer it is closer to. All right, the third step is to use that to determine if it is above or below the halfway root. Wow, I need to get better at typing, sorry guys. Okay, and then you will be able to determine if it should be above or below. Oh my gosh. Oh man. Below that 0.5 or that 0.5 point. Okay, so like 9.5 or 6.5 or whatever it is. And then estimate to the best of your ability. Okay. So those are all of the steps. Pause here if you need to take those down, but I'm going to keep on moving, okay? Because it's the same steps as before. So perfect cubes that it falls between, right? This is the part where we have to look up at our top ones. 1, 8, 27, 64, 125. Okay, so 7 falls between 1 and 8. So I'm going to put, instead of the square root, I'm going to put the cube root of 1, the cube root of 8. And the cube root of 1 is 1. So I'm going to put a 1 there. The cube root of 8 is 2. 7 is closer to 8, so it's closer to 2. Since it's closer to the bigger number, it's above the halfway root. And that means it's got to be above 1.5. And remember, I got that because what's right in the middle of 1 and 2? 1.5. Okay, so which one's bigger than 1.5 but less than 2? Okay, that's going to be C. All right, I'm going to do one more, and then I'm going to ask you to do the other two. Okay, so this is the cube root of 16. Cube root of 16 falls between 8 and 27. So cube root of 16 is the cube root of 8 and the cube root of 27. Okay, and then those are integers. Cube root of 8 is 2, cube root of 27 is 3. Okay, 16, it is what, 8 away from 8, and it's 11 away from 27, so it's closer to 2 then, right? But I would say they're kind of close to being in the middle, so we're looking for like a 2.4-ish range. And we know it's below, and it's below, again, that 2.5 point, because it's got to be between 2 and 3. And then we have a couple here that are close, so we know it's got to be below 2.5. So it can't be any of those. So it's a 2.2. okay? All right, so I want you to pause the video and try the cube root of 100 and the cube root of 54 for me. So try those. All right, so hopefully you said, okay, square cube root of 100 is between the cube root of 64 and 125, which correlate to 4 and 5 respectively as integers. If you subtract the two numbers, it's cube root of 100 is 36 away from 64 and 25 away from 125. So it's closer to the cube root of 125, so it's closer to 5. It's not that much closer though. I mean, it is 11 closer, but like it's still kind of in the middle-ish of that really big span. So we're looking somewhere close to 4.5 would be my assumption. So then when we're looking at these multiple choice options, because it's got to be above, we're either at 4.6 or 4.9. 4.9 would be if it's like really close to 125, like 120, okay? But because it's kind of closer to the middle-ish, we'll go with 4.6. All right, so yeah, hopefully you did the cube root of 54 already. If you didn't, do that now. All right, so hopefully you got that it was 3.7. All right, let's look at the next part. If you need to see my work, pause it. So example 2, circle a square root that would have a decimal answer closest to the point on the number line. Okay, so to show our work. So remember what we did last time is that we put our perfect cubes on the number line, right? So the perfect cube of 2 is 8, and the perfect cube of 3 is 27. And here's like the halfway point. So I know whatever number has to be higher than the halfway point. Okay, so it's got to be closer to 27. So which one's closer to 27 or the closest to 27 is going to be B. Okay, one more time. So cube root of 5 is 125. The cube root of 6 is 216. And it's kind of right in the middle, right? That dot is right in the middle. So we know that 209 is closer to 216. 132 is pretty close to 125. So neither of those are in the middle-ish. So then we know that 170 is closer to the middle. All right, so I want you to pause and try letter C on your own. So hopefully you got A because it's below halfway, so it's got to be closer to 216, and A is the smallest of all three. Okay, so now we have a couple more for you to fill in, and after you fill it in, you put it on the number line. Okay, so I want you to try those three on your, well, here, just kidding. We'll do the first one together. Okay, so the cube root of 18, it falls between the cubic root of 8 and the cubic root of 27, which are 2 and 3 respectively. 18 is 10 away from 8, but only 9 away from 27. So it's closer to 3. So that means it's got to be above the halfway root, which is in the middle of 2 and 3. So it's got to be above 2.5. But again, it's kind of really close to the middle there, right? It's only 10 away and 9 away. So I might even go with, so we have to estimate, right? And since it's really close to the middle, our two options would probably be 2.5 or 2.6. Okay. If you put it in the calculator, it's going to be 2.6. So we'll go with that one. Okay. So this part, just take your best guess. All right. For the next, try the next two. For B, just make everything negative. Okay. So pause and try that now. All right. So hopefully for B, you put a negative in front of everything because the answer is not 2.5. It's negative 2.5. Oh, I put negatives up there. Okay. And then C should be about 4.9. Okay. So ask me if you have questions.